to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton show. Today, like every other show, it's going to be impactful. Today, we're talking about it's okay to be okay, or it's not okay to be okay. Either one, that's what we're going to talk about today. And I am pleased to have on the show Sachelle Kenzie to tell me about her journey of this particular topic. It's okay to be okay, or vice versa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let's get right down to it. Give the viewers a little bit about you before we get deep into your story, because we talked briefly and I was already so moved. I was like, look, we need to go right now and tell this story. So tell the viewers a little bit about who you are.
So, my name is Sachelle. I was born and raised in California, and much of that is going to have and play a factor in what I tell you today. Being raised around drinking and drugs and just that type of environment that a lot of people otherwise probably don't experience in some smaller places, and some do. But I was raised with a very tumultuous upbringing, and it's shaped me into the woman that I am today. Unfortunately, some of those things that have shaped me are not great, but I'm working on them every day and trying to have resolved trauma instead of continuing on a pattern of unresolved trauma.
And let me say once again, thank you for coming on to share your journey from start to where we are now. Let's get right down to this. Tell me about the childhood. When did the traumas actually surface in your life?
So, the first incident started when I was about 3 years old, and it was sexual abuse in a nature that didn't just affect me, it was several other family members as well. And it's been really difficult to talk about because it actually caused severe diversion in my family, because there was the ones that wanted to protect the victims, and then there was the ones that wanted to protect the perpetrator. And it caused a severe tear in my family dynamic. So it continued for me, though, till I was about 7 years old, until I was the whistleblower. Unintentionally, I was a child that didn't know what was happening to me wasn't normal. My mother is the one that stepped up and blew the whistle, and I mean,
Did you know the
to this day,
Did you know the perpetrators?
yes, they were very close relatives of mine. Unfortunately, I mean, it's immediate family. It was a brother and cousins. So, and it's been again a struggle to discuss, especially publicly. And here I am telling the world
I appreciate
that,
that.
and they're. Oh, go ahead.
I appreciate that.
Um,
How
yeah,
were
there may be repercussions from it, but I'm here because it happened, and people can learn from my strength and hopefully take away something from my story.
to make sure that I protect you?
Hmm.
We don't have to mention the individuals' names.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so let's just start here. How old were the perpetrators, and how did they coach you into this this act of inappropriate behavior?
So the first individual is immediate family. He is 6 years older than me, and the first thing that I can remember, and I don't know how much detail I can really get into this, but with you on
You can
camera,
get
I don't
in.
know
You
how
can get
much.
in as deep as you want to. This is your story.
Okay.
This is yours.
Okay. So the first incident that I can remember at 3 years old, it's as detailed as I can remember. I had Little Mermaid underwear on. Like, it's that vivid. When people don't believe that trauma sticks with you, even at a young age, 3 years old, I have vivid memories of it. I know exactly when it happened the first time. My brother was on the couch and told me to come over and get on top of him, and he moved me in a way that was violating to me, and it just progressively got worse from there.
But you had no
But
idea at that age what was going on anyway. You
I
know.
just knew that he loved me, and I thought he was being close to me. I think as a 3-year-old, that's the best way I can rationalize that concept.
And
So,
did this continue with other individuals in the circle?
yes, there were two other female cousins involved in this same setting. not in this incident, but they were unfortunately victims of this as well. So
They were all perpetrated upon by the individual along with you as well. Did you guys even when did the bill, because you're young at this time, so you really don't have the mindset to even say what's going on. Take me to the point to where when you start to realize something wasn't right, what was
mhm.
your call to action, and about what age were you at that time?
I think the first time that okay, so I was left with my grandmother and grandfather for pretty often because my parents were off doing things. They were just heavily into partying at that time. But I remember telling my grandma because my cousins and brother used to take me and cousins into this little like accordion folded like laundry room, like those old
Mm-hmm.
style. So and they knew what was going on. That was, we'll circle to that, but that's what this all comes down to. They knew what was going on and they let it go on. And it took me being 7 years old, several years down the road, to say something to my mother,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother be the whistleblower and put her foot down, and she called the authorities and then took me to the doctor, and
Where was your
it's
father?
horrible.
Where was your father
Excuse me?
during this? Where was your father during this?
Both of my parents were heavily drinking and drugging is the problem. Like they were partying and they were part of it very little, and that's the thing. They were not involved until I brought it up. My dad blew a cork, as any father would.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is it because his daughter has been victimized, but it's his son who is victimizing. So to be a parent in that position, I can't even imagine the internal warfare that you have as a parent,
Right.
to feel the anger towards your son, but the brokenheartedness of your daughter. But my dad stood behind my mom, and I mean, he was 100% on board there. His anger, I will say, absolutely got the best of him.
Meaning?
I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was explosive. But my brother and cousins ended up going to juvenile hall because of it. So,
Do
but to be told that I was not telling the truth for as much of my childhood as I can remember by family that was upset that I said something. I didn't know. I was a child. I didn't know it was wrong.
Who told you you
I
wasn't
just,
telling the truth? Who was the people that
oh,
that you talked to, that you shared this with, and they said you're not telling the truth? Were they also the people that was allowing the perpetrate the stuff to go on?
hmm. So that, as well as obviously the perpetrators are the ones that denied it. And to be honest with you, I to this day have not gotten an apology or any form of acknowledgement that I went through that from them.
What's the relationship like with your grandparents and your parents? Because you said that if I'm hearing you correctly, a lot of
Hmm.
this inappropriate conduct took place at your grandparents' house because your parents were heavily um,
Hmm.
immersed in their own issues. Um,
Hmm.
Now that you look back a little bit, what's your relationship? I mean, how do you feel about your grandparents at this particular point, and why do you think? And I know you can only come up with a hypothesis, but why do you think that they allowed that to happen to their own grandchildren?
Shame and guilt, and I think they didn't know where to go from there. I don't know. I can't put myself in that position. I have
Right.
two children of my own, and I can't even fathom standing by and acknowledging that that was going on. Like, I think any rational person can't. So I honestly can't answer you because I don't have that thought process or that brain function to understand someone allowing a child to be victimized.
What
But
eventually?
with that being,
No, go ahead. Go
oh,
ahead. I
go
ask my
ahead.
question after that. Go ahead.
Oh, with that being said, I grew up and completely disengaged from that family. I was kept away from that family after all this blew the whistle. The blessing in all this is my parents both became sober. I know my dad to this day feels extreme guilt. Like we have talked about it once in the past several years. It was actually last year, and he broke down. It makes him nauseated. He feels so much guilt, and I forgive him, and that's part of my healing. Just like I forgive my perpetrators. I mean, living with that type of, just living with that. I know what happened. They know what happened. There's no need. I can't go back and change it, but I can change me, and I can build growth from that, and I can potentially, hopefully, help others heal from their trauma.
Let's go back a minute to your brother. He was eventually
Mm-hmm.
sentenced to juvenile for, as a juvenile, what do you remember them convicting him of as a juvenile? Because he's not being charged as an adult.
It's just sexual abuse of a minor. It's molestation. I mean, and it wasn't a long sentence. It was 6 months. So
So he comes out 6 months. What happens then? Does it continue?
no, I was not victimized anymore from that side of the family at all
Do you
anymore.
do you think that something may have happened to your brother in his childhood that that made him venture into that area? Because the reason why I'm
Absolutely.
saying that he's several years older than you, 3 years older than you. This stuff is being performed in the safety but unsafe environment of your grandparents. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
cousins were coming over and was victimizing him as well. Have your brother or your brother talked to your parents and say, "Look, mom, dad, this had happened to me too." So I didn't, not justifying him, but maybe something happened to him that made him go to that route. Because at 6 years old, you don't have that capacity, if that makes any sense. And I'm not a therapist, so I don't know.
No.
But from me, I just don't see it.
And that's just it. So he's 6 years older than me. So in that time frame, I mean, me being 3 to 7, you can figure that. But nonetheless, that's not a natural occurrence that happens to any child, just like you just said.
Right.
So I know that my older cousins, they're older than him, where they were sexually abused growing up and had a very tumultuous upbringing as well. And so that whole side of the family has had trauma. And that's kind of my whole basis with this is I don't want to have unresolved trauma that bleeds on to the next generation. It's just not right. It will continue if something isn't done.
What's your
So my cousin, oh, go ahead.
what's your relationship with your cousins that this trauma also impacted? Because right now, it appears that everybody's outside of yourself is living in what I might call the family closet, the skeleton, the family secrets for shame and stuff, instead of really trying to address the impact that is placed on not just the family in general, but really what is placing on them, and they have to walk around with this. Have you reached out to them?
It's
What are their lives like to some degree?
I don't know because I haven't had contact with any of them for over 15 years now. I mean, well over. And I do get curious and check their social media and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, and it's exactly where I expected them to be because of unresolved trauma. So I will say that as gently as possible, but I know that they walk around with immense guilt. You can't walk around with a skeleton like that and not feel guilt. And if you can, that's a whole different monster. That makes you just a monster. But as I've said, I've tried. Sorry, alarm's going off. As I've tried to discuss this one time with my brother, um, he to this day calls me a liar to my face. Which any victim who has been in my situation to be just diminished to that and not heard, it's like you're screaming underwater, and it's the most awful feeling. And the biggest thing that I can tell somebody is if someone has ever brought something like this to your attention, whether it's family, friend, don't ever tell them that they're lying or not telling the truth. Like, hear them out, because the amount of pain that is one of the biggest things I think that just will not go away with me, pain wise,
Mm-hmm.
is being made to feel like I didn't tell the truth when it was proven and it wasn't just me. But that tells me that that is his guilt.
When did you start recognizing that it was a problem for you?
I had a very promiscuous past starting at about 13. I was drinking. I was trying, okay, to be quite blunt, which I'm not a sex worker, but most women that have been victimized end up in sex work. It's statistically proven
Mhm.
because we have been made to feel that sex is our currency. Like sex is what our value is to people. We never had a choice before. So why does it, it's just this weird warped mentality.
Mhm.
So at 13 years old, I was living in, LA, Huntington Beach, and Orange County, and I was absolutely living recklessly. I was looking for anyone to love me, and I thought love meant, intimacy, and that isn't the way it works. So I was searching for something that wasn't going to be filled. Like that void was not going to be filled. What was going to fill that void was figuring out what was wrong with me, why I'm like this, and doing something about it.
Was there, during that time, was there any type of support group for you, or basically being promiscuous was your support group internally?
Yeah, like that was the way that I dealt with what I was, but I was blaming myself for what happened. I was diminishing my self-worth down to, well, this is how I get attention, this is how I get love, this is the people that were supposed to protect me and take care of me as male figures didn't.
Mhm.
So I was constantly searching for that protection figure
Did you
and
have a
in the
relationship with
complete
your
wrong
dad
way.
at that time? How was the relationship with your dad at this point? Everything is out in the open, blah 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 blah. What's your relationship with your dad? You move away. Do you have a relationship with your dad at this particular point while you're being promiscuous and trying to find yourself?
Yeah. Yes, my dad is hands down still to this day one of my best friends. But as I said earlier, he is kind of like out of sight, out of mind. If he just doesn't talk about it, it didn't happen kind of feeling. Because I think that is his guilt that I know he hasn't been able to deal with. Because as a parent, I can't even imagine how you could deal with that guilt. Like, how do you? Like, I don't know. I don't have that answer, but I've tried to talk to him about it, but it breaks him down so horrifically that when I moved down to Southern California, because I was originally in the East Bay,
Hmm.
um, when I originally was, up there with him, then that was one thing. But when I moved away, it was just I could paint whatever rosy picture I wanted, that I was fine and like, not misbehaving and not being promiscuous in any way, shape, or form. And I was all of those things.
Your mom, the whistleblower.
Hmm. Hmm.
You're still trying to deal with the trauma. What's your mom's role in this?
Absolutely. Okay.
What's your mom's role in it?
Well, so
And
my mother was also molested, ironically, by her grandfather, and I didn't find out about it till later in life. It came about in a very bizarre way. I was having a complete breakdown because my confidence was at zero, and I felt like I was just choosing the wrong dating patterns again. And it's like, what's wrong with me? And then I figured out what was wrong with me, and I was doing the same thing I did when I was a kid. So my mom very much understood what I went through because I come to find out she was victimized by her grandfather as well. So as you can hear, that whole side of her family, this is where I'm going with this. It is a unresolved trauma cycle. If you do not fix it, it's going to snowball and continue, and someone needs to stand up and stop it. But my mother was influential in me feeling like it was okay and that I didn't do anything to deserve it. And she unfortunately severed ties with my brother as well. She hasn't spoke to my brother the exact duration of time that I have. So
when you mention you picked the same type of relationships as your mom, tell the viewers what do you mean by
mhm.
that with a little bit more clarity, because we know you was
So
looking for love and for validation, but you still got to pick those kind of people to do that with. What were the kind of people you were actually picking?
oh, I was looking for the guys that were completely unemotionally available because in my opinion it was the body, like just being with the person was what I was seeking. That physical intimacy, that physical protection, because that is what happened to me. In a weird way, even though it was a trauma, it's familiar. So I have a saying, it's comfortable in chaos. I was raised in chaos. I was raised in, tumultuous environments. So I sought that environment because that is what's familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
When someone brings peace to my life, it makes me feel probably the same way chaos feels to a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel like I'm not comfortable, like I need to run. So I was seeking the partiers, the emotionally unavailable, the guys that just wanted to use me, but it was such a subconscious behavior because deep down I really just wanted love, but I was confusing those types of men with love.
You're now a mother.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's different? What's different?
Oh, my babies, I hate to call myself a helicopter mom, but my babies are probably more sheltered than most. I still don't feel great about sleepovers. I thoroughly check out friends, fathers, mothers, but to be honest with you, that doesn't always work.
Mm-hmm.
People put on fantastic masks. I mean, as we see in the news every day, it's very easy to disillusion people as to the type of human that you are. And so as a mother, I mean, I just let my kids know every single day that I am a safe space. I don't care what choice they make. People make mistakes. It is okay not to be okay. It is okay to have off days. It's okay to simply come to your mom, come to your dad, come to any adult figure if you feel like something is wrong. The worst thing I'm going to tell you is no, hey, that's normal, or I'm going to tell you that no, we need to act on this and it's okay. So I create a very safe environment for my children to come to me. I think any parent thinks that. So I haven't been put in a position to actually see if that's been implemented, but that's my goal.
On a different part of the subject, you're tatted up like all tomorrow. What's the story behind all these tats? Were they were they part of your treatment? Explain a little bit about these tattoos.
So that's actually unrelated. A lot of people think that heavily tattooed people, this stems from mental illness. Maybe subconsciously this was my therapy at one point, or I didn't like who I was. I can honestly tell you I don't feel that way, but I do know I try to make myself well informed. And they do say, they do say that women and men that are heavily tattooed or modified in any way, shape, or form like this generally are dealing with some form of trauma. You can look at most heavily tattooed people and see that they have a past. Me personally, I told my parents at a very young age that I was going to be heavily tattooed. I just always knew that this was the style that I wanted. And it's continued into my adult life. Do I regret getting tattooed to the extent that I am? Sometimes. I think every heavily tattooed human does. We look at bare skin and see how beautiful women are in evening gowns with no tattoos. But absolutely, this is who I am, and I can't imagine myself not being this way. But yeah, I think subconsciously, I think there's absolutely a correlation to the way that I look and my past.
Before we wrap up, what's the reason for wanting to come out and be transparent? You went through a lot, and I can see it in your eyes that the healing isn't all the way there, but it's coming. But you got a reason for being transparent. Tell the viewers what that is, and your mission for helping other individuals.
So my main mission is to just try and help people not feel the way that I have felt most of my life. And unfortunately, we didn't have a platform like we do today with social media to do that back then. But I have a very safe space that I create on my platforms. My DMs are always open. If I'm awake, I generally will answer. I do get quite a bit of messages, but I do everything I can to let you know that it is okay to not be okay. And you are going to be okay. It's just sometimes a day at a time. And sometimes you're going to have some setbacks, and there's going to be things that remind you of your trauma. And it may not even be sexual abuse. It might be verbal abuse. It might be domestic violence. There's going to be traumas. And that is why PTSD is a real thing and needs to be taken seriously. But my biggest goal.
Go ahead.
Oh, my biggest goal, absolutely, is to just bring awareness that mental health and depression and anxiety and all these things stem from a lot of our childhood experiences, even adult experiences.
Right.
I mean, there's many men and women that don't feel comfortable talking about this stuff because of the shame that is brought upon society, because it's just not socially acceptable to not be okay.
You said that you get a lot of lot of questions and stuff in your inbox.
Mm-hmm.
What are the two things that came in your inbox that you go, "Oh my God"?
Suicide is a big conversation. I have a lot of people late at night for some reason that will message me and say, "Hey, I have no one to talk to, but I watched your live. I think you'll understand me. I don't know who else to turn to." So I get a lot of suicide issues, not even that they're attempting, it's just they're vocalizing out loud that they don't want to be here. I have been there. I have been in the same position where I just wished I would not wake up in the morning. So I know exactly how that feels. So I try and, nurture that as much as I can. And then the other one, a lot of the time I deal with a ton of domestic violence victims, men and women. Women are not the only people that suffer sexual and physical abuse.
Does it shock you
Women,
that you get a lot of it from men?
no, to be honest with you, it doesn't. I have these questions asked to me a lot, actually in my chats, and no, it doesn't. I have several men that have been, I mean, I know it's laughable to a lot of people, but there are men that have been raped that I know. And it's like, oh, how do you rape a man? Like, this stuff causes trauma in a lot of people's lives. And the amount of molestation that happens to little boys is significant. So that carries into a lot of men's adult lives, and it affects how they engage sexually. And so there's that cycle again. Mm-hmm. So we need to figure out a way to stop it. And if it means talking about it and breaking open the ugly wounds to talk about it and heal it, then that's what we got to do.
Before we wrap up, what are some of the things that you're doing outside of your social media to help you navigate?
Oh, there's a lot. Every day I take a piece of paper and I write down what my successes were for that day and what my setbacks were. And I look at where my mindset was. I got into a habit of journaling now, so I can look back and see how far I've come, because sometimes it's that whole you can't see the trees when you're in the forest thing. Right. So when you write things down, you can go back and look and see how far you actually have come. It really is a huge part of healing and self-journey. So for me, journaling, just not being so hard on myself and just looking at how far I have come, and theoretically I should be a walking, unemotional, unstable, woman. But instead, I'm a very successful businesswoman who has 2 beautiful children, and I'm able to hopefully reach somebody else to make them be able to walk that same path.
How can the viewers reach you?
I have TikTok and Instagram. So my TikTok and Instagram handle is But When I Call You Doll. My name is Miss Dollux as well. You can find me that way, but you are more than welcome to message me in any way, shape, or form that you can, and I will gladly be a listening ear if I'm available.
Close my show out. I'm so impressed with you and all that you've overcome. I'm going to give you the honor to close my show out. Leave them with something inspirational and close the Andre The Beast Crayton show out for me.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure to be on Andre The Beast Crayton show. I have been a huge fan for, I can't even tell you how long, to be honest, which is why this didn't even feel real. But I just want you guys all to know that you may be this beautiful outer appearance of a human, but it is okay to not be okay in here, and it is okay to let people know that. One day you will feel the same way about your insides as you do on your outer appearance, and that's what you got to strive for.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton show.